As I said, the last video was getting just a wee bit too long, so we'll just go straight back into where we left off. Match.setAge will take whatever the user wants and put it inside, well, basically change the value of age, which is a member of our box class. There's nothing to stop at this point here the user saying set age to 450, which is just a ridiculous age, and as you'll see here, 450 comes out. So at this stage you might be asking yourself, well, what is the point of having private members whenever you can do something like that? Well, one of the answers, if we take set age, because there's a function really doing it for us. In other words, we're passing a value into this function or method. That in turn is going to assign it to age, so we could intercept that. So I might decide to put on an if statement there, saying, let's say something like if let's say if age is, let's say our age should be between 18 and 65. Well, I could say there if, and it's not age, it should be talking about, it should be a. If a is, let's say, less than 18, or a is greater than 65, so I'm going to decide that that's an invalid age. So if it's less than 18 or greater than 65, I'm going to tell it just the default age to 18, and else it must be within the range 18 to 65. So I'm happy enough to use it, so I can just go ahead and say age is equal to a. So a is passed in there. If a is between 18 and 65, there's no problem. It'll skip that and assign a to age. But if a is less than 18 or a is greater than 65, it'll ignore whatever a is, it'll just assign the value 18 to age. So I still have 450 on this, so instead of seeing 450 coming out this time, I'm expecting it to default to 18, right, which it has. And if I change that back to 45, 45 is valid, so it should accept 45, set the value to 45 again, which it does. So that shows just a wee bit of the power of what you can do with using get and set methods. In this case here in particular, the set method. So no dodgy input really is going to get past us here. The user now of your class can't set someone's age to something that's outside of the range. Now you could do other tests and things in here to make sure what they enter is a valid number. It's not a string or anything else, but we'll keep it like that just for now. One other thing I just want to show you on this here is the use of what we call a constructor. Now at this point, whenever I create a match box, so it's a new instance of a box called match, it uses what's called a default constructor. In other words, something that's going to give you initial values and things like that there for your members. The C# will inherently just sort of use one if you don't give it one, but it's good practice to create your own default constructor. And a constructor is basically another method. A constructor can't return a value, and a constructor must use the same name as the class itself. So our class is called box, and the constructor also needs to be public. So if I do public box, there's the same name as the class. We now have a method, and in that method I'm going to say L equals 1, so it's just a default value for length. B equals 1 and H equals 1. So I've now got some default values for length, breadth and height. I could also go ahead and do, let's say for my age, give the age a default value. I'm going to be getting rid of it shortly, but I might decide that just set age equal to 18. So what that means, if I go back now to my main program, I'll not do match.set anymore. I'll comment that out. I'll just keep it in there, but I'll comment it out. So whenever I'm creating now this new box, which is of type match, it should get the default value 18, which is coming from this constructor. So if I run that, the output line here is going to show the value 18. So that's come from the constructor. As another way of proving that from within the constructor, I'm going to just use like a console, the console command, if I can spell it right, to display some output. I'll do console.write, and let's see, I'll do a couple of new lines and a couple of tabs. I'm going to say default constructor fired, some fancy dots after it. So default constructor fired, and if I run that, I should see the output default constructor fired and then the value 18. So if we look at the order of things, I've created the new instance here that fires the default constructor, and we've got the message now to show that it does. And the next thing that comes across is match.getAge, which is going to output the 18. Now we can have as many constructors as we like. They must all follow the same rules. They must be public, they don't return a value, and they must all be called box. And they work just in the same way as function overloading. So the argument list or parameter list must be different in each case. So in the next lesson, we'll take a further look at that and constructors in general.